Hi, Mark.
Hey, Drew. You're inside tonight.
Yeah, it's
Hey, Ram.
after the storm over the weekend. I still haven't reset up the bar and everything, so I'll probably have that back and going tomorrow. Is what I'm thinking.
Gonna say you probably got some time.
Yeah, I do. Just a little bit here and there.
I was gonna say I actually went out today and collected checks, and a little weird out there.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I went to one of my big international markets today, and that place is just always packed with people, and there was still a good amount, but definitely not what I'm used to seeing there. And it's just weird.
Yeah, I went to like 8 places. Everyone had masks on. I went to one, nobody had masks on. I'm like, what?
I walked into a place the other day where I think it was at Green Acres, and I've been seeing people wear masks, and I watched this guy at the gas pump yesterday just cross contaminate everything. It was hilarious. But when I was at Green Acres, I saw these people walking around Green Acres, and they had their mask, but they were down around their necks. And it was just like,
as bad
what?
as the.
I was like, what are we doing here, folks? Like, this is just. Come on now, give me.
One of my stores said it's dangerous to wear the mask. You're more likely to get it. I said, okay, well, I'm not going there. Anyways, looks like people have joined.
Yeah, people slowly but surely logging in. Let's see. I know Saul's trying to listen. Let's see. Dan showed up on the right night. Good for him. Proud of you, buddy.
There we go. Found it. How's it going?
Going good, man.
Good.
I have that conversation recorded with Mitch from Black Tot. So once I eventually do put it on some sort of listening device, I'll make sure that that I send it to you so you can catch up on it. It was a good conversation. He had some pretty cool stories, and his rise to that position is pretty unique. So.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah. So once I get that uploaded to some venue, I'll put that out there into the ether and make sure to tag you. So you can finally drink that rum and listen.
Yeah. All right. Good times, man. Thanks.
No problem. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like we're waiting on the man of the hour at this point. And we usually wait, a couple of minutes before we get started.
I'll text him real quick.
Looks like you've done your hair since this morning, Chris.
Do you like it?
Yeah, this morning I was like, I'm not doing video. I look like shit, man.
It's the same. It's just like more oil from the duration of the day. Just weighs it down better. The other day I did one and I had a big, sometimes I wake up, it looks like that, and I just couldn't be bothered, so I just did the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm suffering bad. I need a haircut bad.
I'm telling you, the Ron Burgundy cut's coming back in style. We're all going to get done. We have these nice 70s helmet hairs. It'll be perfect.
I'll just cut around the hat.
Yeah, I sent like a message to my barber, just being like, I miss you, I need you. It
says lounging for Sam. I think he's in the waiting room. Can you approve him?
There shouldn't be a waiting room because I have this open, which means we are vulnerable to FBI hackers, according to them. So if we get dick pics on during the session, I apologize.
You just need to click on last Robert's email, because the Zoom that I used yesterday, like last night, those numbers didn't match, so I had to
Let me just pull it from. You just sent out an email about it, right, Drew?
Yeah, I just sent directly from this meeting, so he should be able to. I know. I'm still, trying to figure out all this stuff out as well, and it's been interesting.
He's
Oh,
there
I
already.
see Sam. I see Sam.
There he is. Okay, you got him.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for being late. Technology.
It's okay. We usually wait a couple minutes before we really get rocking and rolling, so no worries there, Sam. Plus, you're one of the guys that can get away with it, so you got
Thank
that
you.
going for you. Okay. Right in. Okay.
I see some old Smugglers series behind Sam's head.
See some familiar faces. Thank you for joining the meeting today. Megan, I've seen you on the last meeting.
Behind you? Is that the
What was
Smugglers
that, Rob?
series behind you?
Yeah, that's Smugglers of Aaron.
Exactly.
Yeah. Damn.
You're welcome to kind of get yourself this bootlegging world. So I'm ready. I'm not ready, but I'm ready.
Okay. Let's see here. Make sure no one else is trying to get in.
So it looks it's up to you who to let in, right? That's how it works.
No, this one's set up to where anybody can get in, but you can regulate it. So, if we were to start using this a little bit more officially, you can do consistent meetings where you have to have passwords to get in and stuff like that. As it stands right now, anybody that clicks the link is able to get in, which obviously could present problems for a variety of reasons. But yeah, it's open as of right now. Okay, so we have waited long enough for other people to show up. I'm going to throw you guys a little bit of a curveball today because, I've known Sam for the past 2.5 years, almost 3 years, and it's been some of the best years of my life. So a little shout out to you on that one, bud. But tonight I'm actually going to let my co-host, my Vanna White, take care of most of the questioning because he's just been peppering me with questions for the past couple of days of what I should ask and stuff like that. So Robert is actually going to be our host tonight. And so for the people who don't know, Sam is the owner, managing director, president of JVS Imports and Impex, which is an import company. And we're just going to be kind of going through his story, his rise to, coming from Moldova, starting his own business, and then becoming one of the go-to guys for Scotch in this country. So I'm really excited about it. And like I said, Robert's had so many questions the last couple of days. I just couldn't rob him of this opportunity. So with that said, Robert, why don't you take it away and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So, so thanks everyone for coming out. I think one of the things about tonight is really getting to see how if you work in this industry, it's going to be great for you to see how somebody starts an importing business, a distribution business, and of course the key people that played a role in that, but also an immigrant coming from a very poor part of Europe and starting a business in general in America. And the more I've got to know Sam over about 7 years, it's an amazing story. And I thought, now's a really good time to share it with people as we're really having a lot of empathy towards small businesses and the hard work people have done. So that being said, Sam, thank you very much for coming. If you wouldn't mind starting, talking about, where you come from. A lot of people in this chat, maybe you've never even heard of Moldova, which is statistically the poorest country in all of Europe. and just talking about coming from there and bringing your family over and eventually things you've done to start this business and with partners, etc.
Thanks, Robert. I want to thank everyone for coming and joining the meeting. I see the familiar faces, familiar names. Kathleen, now I see your face. I know that we've been friends on Facebook for many, 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 many years. So nice to Zoom meet you, if I can say that. Actually, no, I'm not a public person. And if it was not COVID-19, I would never agree to do that. But I want to keep the spirit of all of you guys high. So maybe some of the stories you will find funny or encouraging or just interesting or maybe boring. But anyways, I do appreciate you joining this meeting. And actually, Robert, I'd never told this story from the beginning to the end at one time. It was you who would, in between all these things that we were brainstorming about how to make our company successful, you would, hey, by the way, what did you do when, and then you kind of try to put it together, and now you're kind of making me tell it. And again, I'm not trying to take the tear out of your faces or anything like that. It's just, just a story of a, common story of an immigrant who wanted a better life for themselves, for the family, for the children. And, it's not easy to change the country. Sometimes it's not easy to change the house within the city or change the state within the country, but changing the country to totally different style, different customs, different, it takes a little bit of an effort and a risk, but we did it and we're proud of doing it. So in 1991, we left Moldova, as you, Robert, mentioned, the smallest republic, Soviet Union republic at that time was Armenia. So and Moldova was right next to it. Very poor agricultural country that was producing grapes, tobacco, all wines, but nothing more than that. And we came to San Francisco because my brother got there about 1.5 years before. It was me, my wife, who was pregnant at that time, was 8 years old daughter, and it was my mother-in-law, who is not with us anymore. And $50 in my pocket, a few suitcases, and that's how we entered into the new world called America. Since then, I'd say about for 10 years at least, I was working 2, sometimes 3 jobs. But my dream was always to run a business, small family kind of a style business where everyone goes to work with desire to go to work. Not just, oh, I need to go to work. When is this Friday coming? I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. So that's basically the story of my immigration. My wife, while I was working, she finished, graduated Golden State University, got a pretty good job in a very prestigious company. So that kind of took care of that. And then now we ended up with having 2 beautiful daughters, both have master degrees, and that's where we are.
Sorry, I was on mute there. And how did you have an idea to start importing and distributing alcohol? I mean, how did you go from like doing all the different jobs, which is very common, I think, for immigrants, especially when they come to California? How did that transition into distributing and importing?
I had no idea that I'm going to find myself in the importing or distributing world of spirits.
How did you learn? How did you learn English, Sam?
Raza, we used to have English as a subject in school, but it was more like English, Queen's English. And then we had a couple of people who would teach us on a private level. One was a teacher from a English teacher from a very prestigious university. That was intense course of 3 months, no holidays, no weekends. It was a very intense course of English. And honestly, I thought I would come here and I would know everything and everyone would understand me. Didn't happen, because it looks like American English was different from Queen's English. So I had to go to John Adams School in San Francisco, started with a level 300 and just driving a cab and listening to the radio, rather. Driving a cab, listening to the radio. That's all. And of course, my accent will never leave me. My daughters speak with no accent, and both. They speak Russian with no English accent and vice versa. But my accent will be with me. I'm not trying to hide it because I can't. It just...
Do your daughters make fun of you?
Always. Well, what do we know, Raza? You know, when I was 16, I thought that I know everything, and my dad knows nothing. And as I was getting older and older, I was understanding how much this man was like keeping his mouth shut and just let me learn the life hard way. And I respect him for that and love him for that to death.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because that's actually a little bit of your leadership style sometimes, is letting some of us fall and then coming and saying, yeah, I wanted to watch and let you learn. It's interesting because you don't see that in business very often. Usually someone just steps in front of you and doesn't allow you to even try. So how did that transition though? Like, you originally started importing and distributing from Eastern Europe, correct?
So basically, one of my friends out of Chicago, he decided to bring Moldavian wines because he thought Moldova has, centuries of winemaking traditions, and that's how he wanted to see himself succeed. In about 2 months, he realized that he can't sell a bottle, and he called me and saying, Sam, help me. I brought some Moldavian wines and can sell them there. Can you sell them in California? I said, you crazy? I have Napa Valley here, the best wines from all over the world, and you want me to sell Moldavian wines? Well, about a week later, he calls again, says, gotta help me. So I brought like a pallet of some wines that, sweet or semi-sweet wines that no one cared about here. But I was lucky because the immigration that was kind of having this nostalgic factors of what was going on back in Moldova or in Russia, they were enjoying those wines. So through the ethnic stores or ethnic areas, we started selling it, and we started selling containers of it. But then about 5 years later, I realized that, generation of our parents will go at some point, and my daughter will never go to a Russian store, no matter what. And that's where I kind of changed my direction towards mainstream or,
But how were you able to...
Maybe God will correct me, but...
No, sorry. It's kind of breaking up here.
Go ahead with your question, Robert.
Well, I was just going to say, like, how did you transition from so into that, and then now you have to convince people that you're going to be successful selling these, other types of products that are not your forte from Eastern Europe. Like, how did you transition into that, communicating with people to get those products, but also learning them?
Sure. So when let me take you one page before. So when we started selling those Moldavian wines, all money that we generated, we put into a WAWS. It's a convention in Vegas that we went to, and we're now laughing when we were kind of remembering it, because we took some POS material that we had in our houses, like some flowers. So it was very funny. But we went there, and actually one of the big chains in Southern California called Ralph's. So you must be familiar with it. The owner came and he goes, "Oh, you guys," he knew that we're like, we probably the last penny to get there and to be part of it. And it's a big show. It's a lot of money to pay for it. And he goes, "Actually, I like your wines." And I said, "I've been trying to get a hold of your buyer like for a month, and he would not return my calls." So he just went by, and by the time I came home, there was like 3 messages from the buyer saying, I need you to send me the price list. I need you to just give me the information. We'll bring in your wines." But again, we were trying to break the American or mainstream market. I will never forget how Val went with his wines to one of the accounts in San Francisco called DNM, in the center of Pacific Heights. And, he put those wines to this guy. So probably this guy would put him, after he left, probably right to the garbage can. But it's funny to see now, but we were very obnoxious and aggressive, and we believed in what we were doing. And that's basically what kind of brought us to that point. But then when we knew that we can do it with Moldavian wines, then mainstream was much, much easier to approach. There was a different kind of competition, was a different kind of people dealing with. But I think it was a good school for us to try to rediscover America with Moldavian wines.
How did you get all of your knowledge on? I mean, most of us who know you well know how knowledgeable you are on Scotch whiskey. How did you pick up that knowledge? How did you study that?
Well, Robert, I can admit that today what's in JVS portfolio, you guys, majority of it, you know more than I do, and I'm proud of it. Like, I know that when we have some Marks and Drews of the world that know rum, like professors, mezcal or agave spirits. Like, I would never be able to know as much as you do, and that's great. I don't have any complexes or any problem about it. Yeah, whiskey was my kind of a first step into mainstream, and I like it. I finished the Moray College in Scotland, and I was just, listening to people, talking to them, not being afraid to ask any question, whether it be the most silly question, I would always ask. And when you like what you do, the educational process goes much, much easier, and you just enjoy it and you have fun.
How did you? So
of course, visiting.
Sorry. So now you're transitioning into mainstream items, and can you take us in, for those who don't know, Impex imports Kilchoman, which is a very big deal, very prestigious, very, very limited amount of distilleries and history on Isla, but at the same time, very rich history. How did that happen, importing Kilchoman and establishing that relationship with the Wills family?
Well, we started our distribution company or partnership in 1998 with my brother, and then Val joined us as a partner in 2000. I'm not 100% sure, maybe 2002, but Val knows better. I think it was 2000. And was it 2000, Val?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
20 years now.
Yeah, we need to celebrate that as soon as the COVID-19 is over. So one of my friends happened to be an importer of Signatory single malt whiskey, independent bottler, and we were offered to represent it in California. That was kind of a big step for us to go from ethnic products to mainstream, and then Gord MacPhail, and then some other things that it's like snowball if those, suppliers, they talk to each other and they always ask, what do you have in California or whatever. So that's how we got, with JVS. Now in 2008, we opened the import company, Impex Beverages, and that was my former partner, Ed Cole, who used to represent Signatory and Edward and Dell, and that's how we started. And then we started with one item, blended Scotch, Isle of Skye, and then again, if you do a good job and if you, show that the product is in good house and good hands, the suppliers start approaching you. So that's how we got Kilhoman, who actually approached another company who said, it's too young of a whiskey, we're not gonna sell it, it's not gonna sell for this money, which I'm pretty sure they regret. I'm not gonna name the company, but we were the second on the list.
Wow. So you go from being this immigrant, importing Moldovan wine, working a bunch of different jobs. Now you're the importer of a major Scotch whiskey distillery. The company's getting established. You're starting to sell to big box stores even. And then you go all the way to becoming a keeper of the Quaich. And can you talk about what that meant? And also for those people who don't know, maybe a brief couple sentences about what exactly it is.
Sure. I kept saying that, even if I get inducted and nominated, and I would never do that because that kind of requires you to wear the kilt, which was challenging for me. But I see Joshua hadn't joined the meeting, and he's another guy that I would always ask about things, and I know he knows more. Getting back to my point that I don't have any problem, people who work with me, not for me, but with me, knowing more than I do. I have no problem with it. I'm actually very proud of it. I think that's how it's supposed to go. And he was part of this group that kind of helped each other to become keepers. So it was not something initiated by me, but on the other hand, my family was pushing me. You gotta go, you gotta be. So here I am.
Did you immediately race to go get that kilt off? Or were you cool hanging out with it for the rest of the night?
You're bad there. You're bad. But honestly, once you put it on, you feel very comfortable. And I had a great night. I drank a lot of Highland Park 19 years old that was served as a keeper's banquet exclusive. And we had a great time. And I didn't want this evening to end. So that means
that's awesome.
I had to keep the kilt on for a while. Yeah.
And what exactly is the keeper of the Quaich, Sam? Like, can you explain what that title means?
So it's an organization. Used to be very, very limited number of people. Now I think it grows. Joshua will probably correct me. It's probably a few thousand people now in the world. So it's basically, if you show your dedication, and I think you have to be in business for about 15 years or so, your dedication, your kind of a role in Scotch whiskey industry, whether you sell it or educate people or both, or so then you get inducted to be a keeper of the Quaich. And the banquets, I think they take place twice a year, fall and summer, fall and spring, I believe. And it's a very, very kind of a interesting ceremony that takes place in the Blair Ethel, which is one the Blair Castle, one the oldest from 14th century castle, and you feel like you're back 2-3 centuries, and that was always my kind of a dream to live in 18th century. I was that night I was taken, so my dream came through.
Did you know most of the people that were there also during the ceremony? Did you already know them, or?
I didn't know who was going to be there, but I was very surprised to meet in face-to-face Serge Valentin. I don't know if you know, he's one of the Mold Maniacs. He was the one who was also getting the keeper. I had a good time with Sukhinder Singh. He was getting a keeper that night. Douglas Lane, one of the brothers, was there. The nephew of Churchill was there from Queen's Palace. They usually invite someone from UK government or Queen's Palace to be there. There was a few people that I knew, and there was a few people that I met. Yeah, and some that I've never met before.
Few Scottish guys going, "Who's this Russian guy?" Somebody texted a message here, and I forgive me, guys. I just now saw them. Somebody asked a question in the group. What was your very first business you ever opened? Was it actually JVS, or was there a business venture before that?
In the US, yeah, it was JVS. It was actually it was a partnership between me and my brother, and then it became a corporation when Val joined it. So if anyone wonders what JVS stands for, it's not Jewish Vocational Services. No. Joseph, which is
it's Jewish Venus
brother's name. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that was the first business.
What was your first business in Moldova then? It sounds like there was something before. What was the first business you ever tried in Moldova?
Well, it was an unofficial business because at that time, it's difficult to say. It was trade. You know, when you ask Val, he has more concrete things about what he was doing. To me, it was 2 times people came to my house when my wife was pregnant, and they were like searching things, and they were asking me to come to Siberia for the interview, and we felt like if I go there, I would probably stay there for about 20 years in the prison behind the bar. And it was nothing illegal, but they could have made you criminal with no problem anytime if you were on the way of someone. So.
All right, so this is going to be a separate Zoom conversation one day about this story.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you, Sam.
Sure.
You know, when it comes to growing the Impex part of the business, you know, because you know you're obviously going out there and seeking out specific brands. What are the qualities that you're looking for in brands when you bring something new in? So, like, you know, as of recently, we brought in, you know, like Penderin and Galvin Carolus and, you know, other brands. Like, what are the things that you're looking for when it comes to, you know, going through the whole process of actually having to import something to the U.S.?
And thanks, Drew. Martin, I love the bottle. I love it. Let me see if I have something here as well too. There you go. See that? Anyways, we've been very selective, Drew. We reject majority of the product that being offered to us, and the reason is we want to keep the portfolio pretty manageable and kind of dedicate our time and efforts to each and every brand, where, you know, big companies would have a huge book of products, and those brands would probably be getting kind of lost in them. So that's the first criteria. As for Impex, we do kind of trying to get best whiskey from each side of the world to kind of create a world portfolio. So Scotch being kind of a core of the portfolio and always being or having a special place in our hearts. We understand that today people are more open to other whiskeys. You know, there's some Kavalan whiskey from Taiwan, there's some whiskey from Sweden, there's some whiskey from India. And they're pretty successful, people like it. So we decided, why, you know, not try this? So we ended up having whiskey from Wales, like you said, mentioned Penderin, or Belgian whiskey or Japanese whiskeys or whiskey from Tel Aviv, Israel. And there's a few more projects in the pipeline, but again, we're trying to be very, very selective. And you might not realize it, but you guys are part of our selection process when it comes to bring the brand in or to go with specific cask and etc. So I thank you for that, because at the end of the day, you select it, you have to go and sell it. So that's a selection process. That makes sense.
Do you, when you're doing that though, don't you look at the human side a lot too, right?
Well,
Meaning,
that's we started.
sorry.
Human side or human specter is pretty much main thing that when it comes to our selection. And we're very proudly carrying Kilhoman, which is the only distillery on Isla that is independent. The rest of them are bought by big guys like Diageo, Pinot Ricard, Santori, Remy. This is the only one distillery. It's family run. We know every and each member of this family. When you walk into the distillery and you see Kathy Wills, Anthony's wife, putting those medallions on the bottles by hand, or you see those guys, working. Now they basically work at the bottling hall, bottling our whiskeys. It really, means a lot to us, because we know that these guys working very hard and they put their soul and heart into each bottle. And that's why we're so proudly selling them. Pandarian is another great example. It used to be in a big house here in the United States. Didn't have any attention. It was crazy of me. People were saying right straight in the face, "What are you doing? You're crazy. Why would you take this brand when, in a house of big importer, it failed?" And guess what? We're so happy, and they're so happy with us. So again, human factor is very, very, human touch is very, very important to us when it comes to selection.
Yeah, I think you feel proud that you're doing something for the family and the people behind it when you have the baby steps of success of building the brand, right?
Absolutely. The greatest example of Moldova would be, we all got hit by tariffs big time. I mean, this is brutal. It's before the COVID-19 came in. Was another COVID-18, which was a tariffs, and they immediately approached me saying, "What can we do? What can we do to make sure that the customers and the consumer and then the chain would not be affected by that?" And we just agreed to eat the tariffs and or absorb them. And Kilhoman today, through the O&D Q1 and Q2 of 2020, hasn't raised their price due to the tariffs. And this is the 5th year that we're not raising the price. They would raise the price to us. I would say, okay, we'll absorb it. We'll keep the price like that. They come back to me saying, you know what? If you absorb it, you have the same price. You don't, we don't raise the price. And this kind of things can always only be achieved when the human touch is involved.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing explanation. We had a question from someone in the group also who asked, let me read it verbatim because it was kind of long actually. Hey Drew, do you have access to the chat? Now I can't find it.
Yeah, I'll read it. So okay. This is from Megan. To her, a desirable workplace is a really big deal. So what makes a desirable workplace for you, Sam? What are the things that you do to make to cultivate the environment that you have at JVS and Impex?
Well, thank you, Megan. Great question. Not sure if I answer it the way that it would be actually what the answer should be, but I like working with the people. So you understand. I know I've seen your face for now, I think it was the second, right, or the third time on this, but you can see the same guys here that without them, I would be nothing. So what I'm trying to say with that, I like to find myself among the people who appreciate good drink, who appreciate the quality and the story behind the bottle. And that's what I think brings all of us to the success. I'm not sure if I answered that right, but if not, you can rephrase the question.
I think, Sam, you know, having worked for you for going on 7 years, I think one of the big things is for me and Drew and Mark and I, and we talk about it sometimes, actually, we talk actually good behind your back, believe it or not. And it's that family atmosphere of like, you know, it just really feels like a family. It just doesn't feel like work. You know, when you come in, everyone just feels like family with each other, and we trust each other to give each other input and build together and value each other. I think that's really what I have felt there. And if any, Drew, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, I mean, I came from a much bigger house, and just the big differences that I see, you know, as opposed to that, is that, you know, I haven't had a problem getting up for work in over 2 years, you know, and it really is kind of like that family atmosphere that Robert's talking about, where, you know, there's a lot of shit talking amongst all of us, and I think that really reinforces that. I mean, there's, you know, I work with Val a lot with some of our like ethnic stuff, and it's amazing. Sometimes some of the things that he says to me, I'm kind of like, oh, all right, that's how that goes. And you know, and it's fun, and it's a relaxed environment. We also work hard, and I think it's cool to be somewhere where a lot of people just really care about what they're doing, and that starts at the top and that trickles down to everybody else. And the fact that we have stuff that, you know, tastes really good and is fun to drink, I mean, that doesn't hurt at all either. So yeah, it looks like Summer just chimed in. Mutual respect and trust, and, you know, a mutual passion for what we do. Absolutely. Like, I don't get checked in on or anything. It's just like, yeah, just, we trust you to go do your job, and we're going to give you the tools to do it. And if you need something, you know, reach out, and we'll help you out. And I think that's really huge for me. And then Elijah had a question. He wants to know, Sam, how do you balance family, managing employees, and running 2 businesses and keep your sanity at the same time?
Great question. Nice cat, Kathleen. Josh, you got some competition there, Joshua. You see the beautiful cat. How do I do that? You know, I know that in America it's prohibited to have 2 wives, right? I think so. But I do have 2 wives. I have my wife that I've been with for over 40 years. And another wife is my job. And, you know, as much as sometimes they fight, they kind of get along. So, you know, that's the position I found myself in, and I love it. I like working, you know, being at home for a couple of days, and I just go crazy. I want to, you know, so it's not a problem. You know, my day starts at 3 a.m. because it's a daytime in Scotland, then it starts at 8 a.m. because it's at New York, you know, 11 o'clock in New York, and then it just goes on, and I love it. Like, I can't express how much I'd like for this COVID to be over for many reasons, but this is one of them. Seriously, like we talked about that with Robert a lot. Like, I want to scroll on the walls. I mean, it's just that's. I think more I work, more energy I get. If I stop, the energy is gone. So, you know, and getting back to this family feel, Drew and Robert, you know, that's my dream. I wanted it to be a family. You know, family people fight, and then they go and have dinner, and they drink a nice glass of wine or whatever, and they all love each other. And, you know, I wanted to take this opportunity to apologize, because sometimes I do act like a jerk. Usually it's Robert who gets all my, you know, venting out experience, and then he, of course, protects his boys and girls. which is fine. But that's part of me. That's part of the family. That's, you know, if somebody tells me that family never had any fights or everything, I would say something is not right there.
Yeah, I think another thing to mention, like what Joshua said about the hard work, is there's very few times, you know, I was a Marine Corps officer, and there's very few times I've seen in the military or the civilian sector where people really lead from the front. And what does that mean? That means working for someone who will do anything. You know, for those of you that don't know, I mean, Sam will stop what he's doing and take a $300 delivery to a bar to help a rep who's missed cutoff or something, or, you know, and that's the whole feel that I always feel with Sam, and you know, you don't see that in life very often at all. So yeah, I think leading from the front.
Right, but it's just, you know, me being a greedy Jew, not trying to meet the delivery. That's all. Nothing more than that.
Hey, I have a question for you, Sam. So, you know, one transition that I know I've had to make over the last, you know, 2.5 years is getting used to that Eastern European charm that, you know, that you, Val, the rest of the office seems to have. Has there been any moments that you can recall that maybe somebody was rubbed the wrong way that you kind of had to say afterwards, like, no, I wasn't being mean, I was just, you know, we're just trying to get some business done? Or is there anything that that comes to mind when it comes to just kind of maybe vibing with some of those softer Americans that are out there?
Sure. Well, to answer it, first of all, I wanted to say that I've been very lucky by having two great partners that I love to death. One is Val with JVS, and another one is Chris with Impex. And, you know, we all have different personalities. And, you know, as to Val, I've known him for, 14 years, since we were 14 years old. And, you know, sometimes he sounds very Eastern European, very like straightforward and very maybe rude to some point, but he's got a very mild heart, very big heart. And, you know, if you know him longer, then you understand it. And whatever he says sounds differently. But I'm pretty sure he has, and he's a big storyteller. Just want to make sure that you have enough booze to pour. He can, you know, tell you the stories for 24 hours. And what was that, Val?
Don't get that started.
Okay, there we go. Here's an answer to your question about being rude. Chris, being from Georgia, you know, I love this guy. I love watching him, you know, growing in this industry from the guy who just came there to visit his friend and happened to see, you know, mine, Val's presentation. His friend was a buyer, spirits buyer in one of the stores in LA, and seeing him growing, being a club founder and then being part of the United Scottish Society, and now he's a big boy there, and him being featured in LA Magazine and Cloud Society person, it just you know, really makes me proud of it, but of this guy. But you know, sometimes he would take this southern accent and temperament. I think I called it right. No, fuck that, no, and it's just so funny to hear that. And again, it also shows like different cultures. We all mean good, but sometimes we understood different way. And you know, then I would say to Chris, count till 10, and he'll go 9, 8, 7, and then he becomes a totally different person. He goes, oh, I can actually handle it this way with a better result. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
Okay, it looks like we have another question here. So this is from Mark Whitby, and he asked, Sam, what can you share the 1, the 3, the 5-year plan for JVS, and when can we see you up here again at Whidbey Island?
That's Washington.
Hey, Mark, nice to hear from you. I don't see you though, but I hope you're somewhere. First of all, I want to say that we miss you so much. You probably, and I, I never said that to any of my current or former customers, but you are the person who makes this industry so enjoyable and so fun to be in. And I can't even express how much we miss you. But I hope you're having a good time. Your early retirement, I've heard you got a job now, so it's all good. What our plans are for 3 and 5? Interesting question. I'm not going to retire because I'm retired. That means that I'm done. So you will see and hear me around. My plan is to visit the Woodby Island. I know that we were supposed to do it in February and then in March. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but I will make sure that this is one of my priorities. And we'll see. I don't know. Probably we'll see how things go. Like no one thought about COVID-19 coming into our steps, and now it's here. So we'll see. Sorry, I can give you a more concrete question on this.
And then this question is from Joshua. Sam, what excites you the most about this industry, and what concerns you the most? Not in COVID terms, but in like normal real life. What concerns you most?
Well, first of all, when I talked about me being proud of people who are being more knowledgeable than I am in specific areas, I should have mentioned Joshua because he's the one that I would probably bombard with questions because he's a professor when it comes to single malt whiskey or some other brown spirits related matters. So Joshua, thank you for being patient with me. I know sometimes I ask the same question 2 or 3 times, and you being very Joshua Hatton diplomatic and patient, you would answer it like I just asked it one time for the first time. What concerns me is, I see the trend for about 10 or maybe more years now in this industry where big guys become bigger. When one company buys another company, it becomes a conglomerate company, which is all fine. I mean, trend is trend. There's nothing you can do. But what is happening with the small companies, with the small brands, that people work so hard to bring to being well known, to being somebody is talking about, and they all of a sudden they're getting bought by a big company. So that's probably the most concern that I have. We can always survive with the higher end products like $150 bottle of whiskey. We will always find someone to buy it. It's not a problem at all. But I'm just concerned about small companies who work so hard. Think about single rep. The rep from a big company that comes with a big book and starts just taking the orders. Order taker. And think about you guys who go and deliver the story behind the brand and trying to ask people like Ro, who's a huge supporter of our brands. Huge supporter. Thank you for the to kind of not being a lazy guy who stands, behind the counter and reads the newspaper, but really deliver your story to the consumer. And that's how the brands grow. And that's where I want to see, and I don't want them to die under big kind of conglomerate companies.
That's awesome. So looks like hold on, got distracted by my little one. She's up because I'm a terrible parent, Megan. That's why, and it's a pandemic. Leave me back off. So Ro actually wanted to say something about JVS. It looks like.
So I've known Val since 2004. I think so from Sunrise Days to now. I just had a little comment and a compliment and kind of an interesting story to tell you. So I've been working with JVS since 2004. So it's been like 16 years. back then used to sell all the Russian, like, you know, Kagor, the Balticas and all that stuff. And that used to be the hot thing. And then when we had put up Roco in West Sacramento, Val used to come by and he was always telling me all the time, he's a bro, you're missing out on this, and you should get a whiskey society, get some of your customers together, go to a restaurant and do a whiskey tasting, and then we'll, like, I'll bring out the distillers and we'll come out. I'll bring out some guys that know about whiskey. They'll talk about whiskey. We bring in the food and then we'll sell whiskeys. All these guys in the Bay Area, the big stores, the guys that are doing a lot of business, they're doing this all the time. And this was back in 2010. And Val kept on asking me every time, he's a bro, you're missing out. You're missing out. Here we are in 2020. What do I do every day? Is the River City Whiskey Society. We do the dinners, we get people together in a group, we do the same thing. So it was like, it took 10 years for me to understand that.
Where's my broker's commission?
But that was like, you know, so I've been with JVS for 16 years, and that's what, like, you know, now we went from, you know, doing like maybe $500, $600 order. Now, like, Drew's grown that business a lot. And even now, like, Drew and me, we butt heads all the time. And Drew's always telling me, hey, try the mezcal thing, try the mezcal thing. So now I'm like, okay, maybe JVS is onto something, right? Maybe in the next 10 years, I'll be selling mezcal more than I'm selling whiskey. So I do listen to Drew. It just takes me a little bit of time. And, but I do listen to him, but that's it. You know, JVS has helped me grow in the business. And, you know, just nice to see you guys, even, you know, 16 years later, you guys are here and you guys have grown and you guys are back in my life, and I talk to you guys every day. So kudos to you guys for sticking it out. And sorry, Val, I didn't listen to you in 2010, man. Could have made a lot more money.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. You've always been there, and we appreciate it. One question though, Rod, you had this Talisker 25 for $150 at Sunrise. You still have it?
No, sold it all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Those are the days. Val used to come in and he's always like, why are you buying Talisker? Why are you buying Diageo products? Like, they're good, but there's so many other whiskeys that I didn't even look at. Like, you know, now we're like, you know, I'm drinking Amrit and we're selling exclusive malts and single cask nation. Like, that's become like, you know, some of these whiskeys have just become such a big, important part of my everyday life. And it was just a funny story that, you know, Val had told me about this 10 years ago and I didn't listen to the guy.
Joshua, you owe me $3 because I paid it to Ro to mention.
Hey, thank you for that, man. We honestly, we couldn't do anything without you guys at all. So thank you so much for the nice compliment.
Okay, so I'm just catching up on comments up here, and let's see, that's been addressed. Yeah, Sam was on One Nation Under Whiskey. That was a really great interview. So if you guys haven't checked that out, do it. And then in a couple of weeks, Joshua was actually going to be the guest of honor on Drew's virtual happy hour. So tune back in for that. And then let's see, are the single malts of Scotland bottlings, is that a JVS Impex exclusive, Sam?
All right. So as most of you know, exclusive malts that we used to carry for about 5 years or even more, it became a history. It was sold to a group of Chinese businessmen, and it just disappeared off of U.S. market. We started looking for another independent bottler to kind of fulfill this hole. And by that time, we were bringing the Port SK, which is a Sukhinder Singh's a brand brought to us by Elixir Distillers. So they must have liked what we've done to the brand, and they offered us the single malts of Scotland, which is a pretty well-known brand in Europe. They've been running since, I believe, 2005, but never been to the United States. So we brought, actually there's going to be only 2 runs available. One that we just brought in, another one towards the end of the year. And there will be 5 single casks available for retailers like Ro. You can look into this, and that's all. So It's exclusive to you, Impex, but it's not exclusive to JVS. We offer it to maybe 10 states by now because it's pretty limited. So, you know, big supporters of Porter's Cake will be the first one to be offered, and we'll go from there.
And then this question is from Matt McKnight, who at one point you sent like the most ridiculous sample pack to. Like you gave him samples before I got samples. Just want to put that out into the universe. But
Got me caught on this one.
so Matt asked, now that you've got the rum and cane merchants, are you seeing an uptick in the rum market?
So we're trying to watch what's going on on the market, and you know, I think we kind of hit the jackpot with mezcal category. Val brought the first mezcal to the company when no one knew what it was about, and I was like, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Why would you need the, you know, smoky tequila, all this stuff, and all of a sudden, mezcal today is a very good part of our portfolio. And thank to, first of all, to Robert and to everyone else, and of course to our suppliers like Raza from Oaxaca and Ray Campero, William. So we're very proud, and we kind of got this kind of trendy you know, spirits category. With rum, I hear that for about 5 or 6 years. Rum is going to be next thing. Rum is going to be next thing, and it's happening and it's not happening. So we decided to, after rejecting probably 10 people who approach us with rums, we decided to bring one from rum and cane company, and also or brand, and also from Sikandar Singh, which is called Black Tat. So we're it's two different things. Rum and cane is more like a regional range, where Black Tat is different animal, and we believe that, you know, if we miss on the rum, that we'll miss on some opportunities. So yeah, we believe that what we bring will make a lot of rum connoisseurs happy and likable. Yes, sir. Oh, he said bye, Joshua. So yeah, basically that's what we're.
Can you talk, Sam, about in the long journey with Impex and JVS? Can you talk about some of your proudest accomplishments, some of the things, some challenges you faced, and maybe a little bit on how you learned from those challenges? I don't want to say mistakes, right? Because everything's kind of growing and it's just a challenge you face.
Sure. Yeah, we had some hiccups on the way where we were kind of had to discontinue things. I'm not going to name him, but you know, you learn sometimes on your own mistakes. It's better to learn on somebody's mistakes, but it doesn't happen this way all the time. So we're trying to live the portfolio the way that the rep comes to the store or to the distributor, and anything he pulls out of his bag is something that the potential buyer is excited of. Not like some, you know, vanilla vodka or some another gin or something like that. If we bring something, we're trying for it to be very kind of rare, unique, and niche. So with today's portfolio, we had some challenges. We lost a few brands. We lost a few big brands, like Aaron was one of the brands that we lost. Temdu would be another brand that we lost. Exclusive malts, like I said, there was a story. So trying to fulfill this gaps or holes in the portfolio. You know, we have the Isla whiskey from Kilhoman and from Porter's Cake. We have some wonderful whiskeys from Japan. All categories, all three major categories: blended malt, blended whiskey, blended malt, and single malt, and also single grain, which is a very interesting category. One hole that we need to fulfill is the Speyside whiskey. As you know, Speyside whiskeys, the area or region It's about 50% distilleries located from there, and it's very popular. Macallan, Glengrant, and et cetera, the Levitts of the world. So this is something that we're trying to fulfill, and we're working on it. And we're getting close to have one whiskey from Speyside. Independent bottlers, we're very proud of representing Single Cask Nation and Single Malts of Scotland, and Port Escape falls into this category. We would love to have Australian whiskey. We'd love to have Irish whiskey. And anything else that's interesting. We're approached by a Taiwanese company to bring their product, not Kavalan, another distillery, and we rejected because we simply didn't like the whiskey. So we kind of have the luxury and not power, but we're in the chair to make a decision whether to bring it or not. And we would, no matter how popular the category or the terroir is, if the whiskey doesn't match our standards, we just say no.
Well, what about, Sam, some of the things you've personally accomplished or the business has accomplished with you that you're most proud of? Like becoming keeper of the Quaich, things like that.
I didn't get your last part of your question, but I can tell you the major thing that I accomplished is having about 32 people now between two companies that I hope enjoy what they're doing, even in the worst part of our times that we're having now, being able to bring money to their families and for them to pay the rent, mortgage, buy things, and having people happy that they work for this company and work with us. That's probably the best or the most important achievement for me.
I think that's really well said. What is there anything you're excited about up and coming business-wise for Impex specifically that you want to share? If there's anything you can't share, you don't want to share, but anything that is coming in the pipeline that you're excited about that you want to mention, or?
Well, the most exciting thing that I have now is for this COVID-19 to be over. I would love to share some good news with you guys, but I know this guy with the red hair would kill me. So I would tell to be kind of intriguing a little bit. We basically be announcing that starting 1st of May, but we're bringing the Speyside whiskey that I mentioned before, if you guys paid attention. So can't say which one, but we're very excited about it. So hopefully everyone is going to get the chance to enjoy it and continue the success of JVS and Impex.
Guys, I really don't have anything else. I mean, I just wanted to hear Sam talk about the history and where he's been and where he's going with it, along with his partners. But I think this, we never get a chance to get this guy to sit down and stop working and just, this opportunity. So I really encourage some of you, if you want to ask some other questions. Anyone?
Yeah, I think Robert, you touched on it, a little bit. Like, what are you excited about? What's in the pipeline? But what do you guys see as in the next decade and this decade? Like, what's going to be your guys' big push other than just whiskey, right? Whiskey's there. Definitely, there's a lot of stuff going on in whiskey. Whiskey, everybody's talking about it. There's a bunch of different things. What are other things that you're excited about in your portfolio that you're going to have here in the future, or you already have that you're very excited to share?
Sure. Chris, I can talk about the rum. Okay. So one of the projects that we're working on, and it's actually kind of a Chris's cup of tea, we just brought 10 casks of rum from Jamaica. And they're hitting the warehouse in California tomorrow. And we're thinking about, it's from 2 distilleries, can't say which ones, but we'll talk about that later. We're thinking of bottling 3 casks right away, one from one distillery, another from another distillery, and one from as a blend. But again, the samples will go to Chris in Southern California, and he's gonna try it at the different ABV, so by adding water, because apparently, you know, rum is not like Scotch where we're trying to bring like single malt of Scotland or single cask nation at the cask strength. There's a bit different cup of tea. If you guys want to be part of it, Robert, Mark, Drew, Summer, anyone, we got a lot of rum geeks there. Let me know and I'll make sure that you guys have the samples, and as always we value your opinion, because at the end of the day when we bottle it and people don't like the strength or something else, that we know who to send them to. So this is one of the projects. What else? Well, this Speyside distillery, that's probably most exciting news. Chris, am I missing anything there?
A continuation of the World Whiskey Project. We have some things coming from countries or parts of countries that we've delved in before, but nothing till 2021 on that front. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Everyone does. I don't, but that's okay. No. One more thing, you know, as we went through this, losing the brands, bringing the brands, we decided to come up with our own brand that is called the Impex Collection. And this is something that we've been working for another year, for about a year, and probably in about 6 months it's going to be ready. So we're going to be bringing some very exclusive casks of Scotch, some mezcals, some rums, some Japanese whiskeys under this label. We already have one cask of Springbank 25 years old, finished in sherry cask, that would go under this label. So we're just waiting for a few more things. The rums that I mentioned, they will go under the Impex collection. So this is another huge project that we're working on.
Anyone else?
Looks like we got a question. Is there any, are we getting any Spanish or Serbian whiskey?
Serbian whiskey, that would be probably a question to Val. We're getting some Serbian. Val, you want to chime in?
Well, I've been to Serbia, been to Croatia. Everybody's drinking brandies. That's what they're known for. As a matter of fact, there's so big varieties. If you go to like farmer's market in Croatia or Serbia, these guys sell these homemade brandies right there, right off the back of the car at the farmer's market, and it's allowed to. We have now such a big varieties of these brandies, and the quality is amazing. Most of them you guys not familiar. You just have to come and see that, taste it. So no whiskey. These guys have so much fruit they need to make brandies and the grapes.
Would it be brandy like Slivovitz, or be brandy like from?
As a matter of fact, I'm not a big fan of Slivovitz. I like to smell it, but I don't like the taste. The best is like from Queens and pear. As a matter of fact, to make 1 case of pear brandy, it takes about 100 kilos of fruits. You guys know that? It takes a lot of fruits to make 1 case of 12 bottles of pear brandy. That's why, you know, if you look at this French, remember we had the PM pear brandy, how expensive it was, and what we sell pear brandies. Yeah, but you know, the labor is cheaper there in Serbia and Croatia, so it's less expensive. But it's a huge variety. It's an amazing product, actually. Very tasty.
Anybody got any other questions? Anyone? Drew, do you wanna when are Sam, Val, and Chris coming to Sacramento?
When we're able to travel again, but we'll wrap it up with that. I want to say thank you to everybody that came out tonight and listened to what Sam had to say. I think it was good. Tomorrow we have Esteban from our Bacanora and Bonete Raicilla. So if you guys want to come check that out, we'll be talking some Mexican spirits. He's also responsible for Jarumbas and La Venenosa. So it's some really cool stuff that he'll be talking about. And again, this is just about hopefully escaping some of the nonsense of the virus and learning a little bit something. And hopefully you guys are enjoying it. And Sam, thank you so much. I know you don't like to do this stuff, so we really do appreciate it. And thank you everybody for coming out. Cheers, everybody. Drink your whiskeys, drink your brandies, all that fun stuff.
That looks like mezcal to me.
It's the Portiscat Gate. No color added, because that's deceptive. So
I want to thank Drew for you doing a great job, man. And I wish you all the best. Looks like people enjoy your shows, and wanted to thank everyone who killed an hour or so of your time listening to my boring stories. I love you all. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hey, when he's famous, you'll be able to say you were one of the early guests on his show.
That's right. That's right. Forget that. Tell your friends. Tell your friends to tune in.
He needs to make me a guest on his show first. That's when he becomes famous.
All right. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.
Enjoy, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.